Heather McDonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data, and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Woo woo. Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. All right, let's get into some hot topics. Scott Peterson, one of those murder stories that I have been obsessed with from the day it happened. It was very tragic. It happened over 21 years ago, I believe. This guy, Scott Peterson, was married to a woman named Lacey who was pregnant, and she was about a month or a few weeks away from giving birth to their son. And she went missing the day before Christmas, I believe. That same day, he said he was going to take his boat fishing. He said that she was going to walk the dog. He came home. The dog was there with the leash still attached. No Lacey to be found. They start frantically, looking for her. It's all over the news. She's a very cute girl, and they lived in this cute house in Modesto, California. They were like just this young couple, barely 30, if that. First baby. Nobody knows where she is. And then we find out that he has a girlfriend named Amber Frey, who he went to her Christmas party with, and he told Amber Frey, "I'm a widow," when they met. She thought he was a widow, and she had a young girl, Amber Frey, a young daughter, and he said, "Oh, I'm a widow, and so this will be the first Christmas that I'm celebrating without my wife." He was talking plans. He met her daughter. She thought she'd met the greatest guy. Well, somebody that was at that Christmas party is like, Amber, are you watching the news? And she's like, "Oh, I'm not big on watching the news." Well, the guy that you took to the Christmas party, his wife is missing, and she was 9 months pregnant. So she goes to the police. They start recording her phone calls with him while he is at a service where everybody has candles praying for her safe return. He goes off and is like, "Oh, I'm in Paris for work, and the fireworks are going off at the Eiffel Tower because it's New Year's already here." He's still playing along. They eventually arrest him, and when they do finally arrest him, he has dyed blonde hair, and he had several $1,000s in his car, and he was driving to the border. So they thought that looked very suspicious. Many, many months later, sadly, her body and the body of the baby gets found on shore, which would have gone with, did he dump the body that day? So the prosecution said, I think they got in a fight, or for whatever reason, he killed her the night before and put her in a boat the next day and dumped her in the ocean, came back with a boat, and then pretended that she'd gone on this walk. Now, his defense was people had seen a pregnant girl walking, and so she definitely was on the walk. Other accounts were like, no, I don't think she ever went on the walk. He gets convicted. He's been on death row for 20 years. His sister-in-law, so his brother's wife, she has been working on his defense, saying that there were leads that they didn't follow. There was a robbery right across the street. And so their theory is that when she went to take the dog for a walk, she was kind of like a feisty, stand up for herself type of person, even though she was petite, either saw that robbery happening or was like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And they, in fact, took her, and they're the people who killed her. And he just happened to be having an affair, and then he just happened to not be that sad when his wife went missing. He was like, wow, this is amazing luck, because I wasn't into her anyway, and I'm actually not that sad about it. But, I guess it wouldn't be terrible if she came back, but it's kind of great that she didn't. I don't know. DraftKings Casino is bringing you only the best classics like blackjack, roulette, and slots, plus exclusive games you won't find anywhere else. I love roulette. It's so exciting. It brings you right into the casino. The stakes are high, and it makes it so fun. Download the DraftKings Casino app now and use code JuicyScoop. New players get an instant deposit match up to $100 in casino credits when you deposit $5 or more. That's code JuicyScoop,
only on DraftKings Casinos. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 plus. Physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only. Void in Ontario. Eligibility and other restrictions apply. One per new customer. Must opt in and make minimum $5 deposit within 7 days, 168 hours of registering new account. Max match $100 in casino credits, which require one-time playthrough within 7 days, 168 hours. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/new player offer 2024.
But there were a lot of interesting things. As I've studied this case, I've watched a lot on it. There are a lot of things that didn't add up. So the Innocence Project has taken this case. And, you know, the general public, at least the people in the comments, are not thrilled about it. They're like bringing up the fact that he had a girlfriend, bringing up all these different things. I remember one of the things is that the day she went missing, the next day he got porn on his cable. He never had it on before. And he was like, well, now that she's gone, I mean, what if she came back the next day? It was something that she didn't want. There were all these things that looked very suspicious. There was a time he acted strange at Disneyland. There were, I remember somebody writing me in when I was covering it a couple years ago who said that her husband worked in the same business and met him just about a month prior at like a conference. And he was very flirty. He was getting numbers. And this guy, this woman, Juicy Scooper's husband, he thought he was single the whole time. And then lo and behold, they're sitting at dinner one night and they see that this guy is on the news and his wife is missing. He's like, that guy had a wife? He was he was collecting numbers. So there is so much about it why I am, so interested. But we'll see. We'll see what real evidence they have. There were also pregnant women in the town that had gone missing, some pregnant women of color that just did not get the press that Lacey got. Their particular house looked like it was in a nice, cute little clean neighborhood, but there was a lot of crime surrounding the area. There was people thought there might have been a satanic thing that happened in kidnapping these women. So did he just have the worst luck and they just happened to have thrown the body in the ocean? It's going to be a really juicy situation to talk about, but he has been behind bars for over 20 years. Also, weird crime that just came up. The woman who was in charge of the show, Cheer, actual Cheer show on Netflix, this junior college where everybody, does the cheerleading, named Monica. She also went on to be on Dancing with the Stars. One of the main people that was beloved on the show for a couple seasons, named Jerry Harris. He was arrested for sexual assault of a young boy and corresponding with young boys. He's doing like 13 years in prison. He met some boy or corresponded at him. It was that was at like a cheer situation. So he was a total predator. Now this woman's son has now been arrested for possession of child porn. So they said the videos are children under 10 engaging in sexual acts. He is in possession of them. He has been let out on bail. But very, very weird, the connection between all of this and the show Cheer. Shay Diaz is no longer coming back to And Just Like That. She is the non-binary stand-up comedian / podcaster / failed sitcom star. She believes it's because of her political views regarding Palestine. They're saying, no, it's just because of the writer's strike, it's been gone for so long, it won't even be back till 2025. And her character, Shay Diaz, who was romantically involved with Miranda, the character Miranda, they've broken up. There's really there's no reason to keep her around. However, in the last season, even after they broke up, Carrie was still friends with Shay. She was still inviting Shay to events. She was still acting like she and Shay were best friends, that they had this, amazing podcast that also failed. So that's why she had to go back and work at a vet and live in her grandparents' house or something. I don't know. She's not coming back. I think I'm okay with it. I think there's going to be such a long break that I'm ready for them to do new and fresh stuff. I'm sure Carrie will have a new date every week, and it hopefully will be back more to the Sex and the City vibe. So I think it was just kind of like, sometimes with these long breaks, I think a lot of people the studios were happy to get rid of shows. And they're like, well, it's been so long. Sometimes I think that's why the writer's strike lasted so long, is they were like, these contracts will expire based on time or whatever. Get rid of shows, get rid of characters they weren't into anymore. And there you go. All right, let's talk Traitors for a minute. It has gotten so juicy. And what I really like is just when you think you know how the game is being played, they kind of make a twist on it. So I love that it's in this beautiful Scotland castle. I assume they're all living in the castle. So I think that's always really interesting how like the Traitors, like Phaedra and this guy Dan, Phaedra from Real House of Atlanta, and this guy Dan, they're the two original Traitors, how they have to like meet in these different rooms and like talk and make sure nobody sees it. And so it's very interesting how they do it all. And so the next thing is they're like, okay, we're not going to just let you guys choose who the next person is to be killed. You have to give them this chalice, which is like hidden in a book. Give them this chalice and make sure they drink it. So she gives it to this girl, Ekin-Su, who was on Love Island. And then they're all waiting for breakfast, and she walks in, and they're like, what the hell? And they're like, how is she even alive? Well, she drank the poison. They say she drank the poison, but we're not going to know, who drank the poison, and it's not going to take effect until the end of the day. And so they all have to like walk to their funeral, and they also wear like their funeral outfits and stuff. And I do really love the drama of it. And I love that even though they're all reality stars, that they kind of get into it and act and hoping to like, stay alive. And then again, they start questioning who's doing it. And now Larsa Pippen, who's dating Marcus Jordan, they kicked him off because he was so smart before. So she's like real bitter. She truly is like a widow out for revenge. And so she is being like, I think that definitely one of the alpha males that are left in this cast is definitely a traitor. And she kind of has been coming for Dan a little bit, but Dan is trying to stay really quiet because she's like, I really want to get one of these traitors off. And each time they vote and get rid of a faithful, it makes it harder for them to win. So I just love the whole like sneakiness and trying to figure out who's your real friend and the backstabbingness and how like their careers of playing, whether Survivor or Challenge or Housewives, comes into play. And so then they have to walk to their grave, and then we find out that it was Ekin-Su. So she is now gone. So going forward, it's like, I just like that there's all these different like twists. And now they think that, oh, maybe it is a housewife, which would put Tamra in jeopardy. But obviously Phaedra, who is the traitor, she doesn't like that. Sheree from Atlanta is also a Real Housewife. So, and then MJ is from the Bravo world, but she's from Shahs of Sunset. So I think they're kind of like, so Phaedra's like feeling, I think she's going to start to feel the heat. And I think that Phaedra and Dan, who are the original two traitors, I feel like something's going to happen with the two of them. It's going to be hard for them not to get pissed or start to turn on each other. And so anyway, you got to watch it. It's on Peacock. There's 4 episodes out now, and it really is fun to watch and get into. And it's got lots of twists and turns. Anyway, it's on Peacock. You can only watch it there, and new episodes every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Meanwhile, Meri from Sister Wives has a new beau. Yes, the original Sister Wife. She's dating someone as well, and she announced it on her Instagram. Well, the Sun went and did an interview with one of this guy's ex-wives. He's been married 4 times. And in that interview, this ex-wife and ex-girlfriend, a couple of people they interviewed, are allegedly saying that he was always into the Sister Wives and he was into reality stars all the time. And one story that was kind of funny is this person said, well, we were in Orange County and he wanted to go to Costa de Casa. And he was, housewife hunting. He wanted to find Tamara. He wanted to go and see if he could date a housewife or just meet them or something. So they're worried. There's a consensus that's worried about Meri dating this guy who's been married 4 times, and he's the only after her because she's on the show. This is what I say. Oh my God, let Meri have a boyfriend. At least he's real. You don't remember that she was catfished by someone that she thought was a man who was actually a woman that she never met, that didn't exist. At least this guy is real. Of course, he's been married 4 times. And of course, he's excited that she's on Sister Wives. It's her job. She's famous. I don't really think that's such a negative thing that someone likes what you do and they're like down to be on TV. She better hope that whoever she's dating is down to be on TV and have some fun. So, yeah, she's not a billionaire. She shouldn't marry him. She shouldn't give him any money, but let him take her out, love bomb her, have some fun with her. Let her hang out with someone other than her best friend. Maybe he can help with, making little quiches at the bed and breakfast. I don't know, but I'm excited to see it and see if then, now that she's got a beau, if they start hanging out with Christine or anyone else. And poor Janelle's got to find somebody soon. But there you go with that. The last thing I want to talk about before our interview is Anne Marie, who is one of the least likable new characters I've ever seen on a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And part of it is because she came forward saying, I'm a nurse who does anesthesiology. Crystal said, no, when I first met you, you said you were an anesthesiologist. She said, no, I never said that. But with her medical knowledge, she challenged Sutton when Sutton said, the reason I don't eat much is that I have a small esophagus. Anne Marie, you see her saying it numerous times in numerous different settings. I don't believe it to be true. That doesn't make sense. That's not, I'm in the medical profession. I think she's lying. I think she has an eating disorder. And Sutton is like, I'm sorry, am I on a doctor's appointment right now? Who is this woman? And they're like, well, Sutton, you invited her to Barcelona, so she's coming on the trip with us. I mean, if this was real life, like you'd ever invite someone that just basically called you a liar and that you had an eating disorder over and over and over again, and also is not really vibing with anybody. Supposedly, she was Kyle's friend because they lived down the street from each other in Encino. Obviously, they met through casting. And anyway, she, the American Society of Anesthesiologists have made a statement saying this is the difference between a nurse of anesthesiology and an anesthesiologist. And she was very upset that they posted that. She's like, I feel like this is defamatory towards me. And then here she is here. And then she also went on to say, look, this esophagus storyline is boring. I don't like watching it back either. I wouldn't like my performance in this either. I get it. However, she says that storyline was unauthentically dragged on for too long, and I have been dragged through the mud in the process. I want to highlight the real in reality TV. Well, in my opinion, what she's trying to say is the producers, knowing that I am a nurse, either put it in my head and maybe question it, or maybe the first time she questioned it, they were like, bring it up again. Now bring it up again. Make sure when you talk to Kyle, you bring it up. Make sure at Kyle's event, you sit down and you bring it up to Crystal. Remember, Crystal said at one time she wanted to go to medical school, so you should bring up that she's... So now that she is getting so much hate from the fans, and she thought it was going to be so fun to be on The Real Housewives, and here, when she goes back to being a nurse, the nurses are going to hate her. So it's already screwed up her day job, real life. Most likely she won't be asked back. Now she's like, okay, now I want people to put 2 and 2 together. Hopefully Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop will do it. They made me do this. They made me talk about it much longer than even I was interested in talking about it. And it is a pretty dumb, boring storyline, but it's really all we got besides Kyle and Morgan. And I don't know how my pretty lady's going to do in Barcelona without me. We're just attached up the hip. We are having so much fun together. We're doing Amazon Lives and whatnot. Anyway, you guys, remember, go to heathermcdonald.net. I've got all this cute merch. And now for my interview with the very funny Dulcé Sloan. Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. I have a first-time Juicy Scooper, hilarious author, comedian, Dulcé Sloan,
Hello.
welcome to Juicy Scoop. You're
Hello.
looking adorable.
Thank you.
Thank you for your lip gloss. This is Purse Vodka I'm wearing right now.
Yes, that is Giggle Gloss. We have 6 different shades. Me and comedian Lace Larrabee started the line, and all of the names of the colors are jokes. Because I'm currently wearing Lafayette Majora, which is like a mauve shade.
Yeah.
And then they have like a glittery gold on top of it called No More Broke Dick, my ministry. So Lace has 3 colors and I have 3 colors. And so this is one of her colors with my color on top and like a brown liner.
I do love that bit about No More Broke Dick. I saw it from your Netflix
I'm trying to help.
special.
Yeah.
And why don't you just explain your theory to the Juicy Scoopers?
Well, you never know when you'll be called upon to start a ministry. You never know when the Lord will lay something upon your heart. And as someone who has been, I don't want to say victim, but someone who has had to deal with the nonsense of a man who's not stable is a compliment. A man who is in no way financial.
Okay.
It is a burden. It is it's a life that no one should have to live. This isn't a women's issue.
Being with a broke dick.
No, this isn't a woman's issue. This is an issue for anyone who sleeps with men. The hardest part about it is that broke dick is amazing. And that's why it's so hard to get away from, because the devil is truly a liar. So if you're someone who is trying to do better for yourself, is doing well, maybe you're living by yourself in Hollywood, out here being a unicorn, okay, having the means to not have a roommate, that broke man's going to make sure that he's in your house eating all your meats and cheeses on a regular basis. You have to get him out of there. I know it's hard. The dick is amazing, but he knows that there's nothing else on his mind. This is what he does all the time.
And do you feel that the dick is so amazing because they knew they were good at that, so they never had to sharpen any other skills in their life besides their lovemaking? Why do the 2 and 2 go hand in hand, in your opinion?
I think it's a skill that develops because you're not at work.
Oh, so you have a lot of more time.
You have more time.
You're not gone for 10 to 12 hours a day.
No, you're just out here sitting in someone's house, playing video games, eating cereal at 3 p.m. You have the time to really perfect. You didn't do anything all day. So all you have time. So when I get home,
you're not tired.
You're not exhausted. What did you do? What did you do? You thought about doing laundry. You didn't do it, but you thought about it.
Right.
So this man did nothing all day. He has nothing but energy. So he better be dropping it off when I get home, because I'm probably going to have to feed him.
Right.
So they have nothing. It's a skill that develops because you're like, hey, listen, I'm not contributing to society. I'm not contributing anything in this home. So I might as well be dropping it off.
Now, for somebody that wants to leave that in 2023, what are some of the lies that maybe you tell yourself to convince yourself that this is going to get better, or that you should stay with this person? Or what is the inner dialogue that you have when you find yourself putting together sandwiches for incredible dick that doesn't work?
You're telling yourself things like, oh, he did send out resumes today.
Okay.
He was looking for a job. But also it's like, hey, I'm a modern woman. It doesn't matter if he doesn't work. That's not true. He's an adult that lives in your house.
Right.
Also, do not let that man borrow your car. He's not looking for a job. He's at another woman's house. Or another human's house. I don't know what he does all day.
Right.
He's got things to do. He's got a cell phone bill to beg somebody to pay for. So, yeah, you have to, someone's paying a cell phone bill. Someone's paying for something.
Yeah.
He's got to text everybody back. He's got to eat today. He's got to sleep indoors. So he has to make sure that the phone stays on and somebody's connected to Wi-Fi. So it's hard because you have to tell yourself, it's like, yeah, it doesn't, I'm a modern woman.
Right.
It doesn't matter. It matters. Gloria Steinem did not march. That woman did not burn bras. She did not work as hard as she did for you to pay for dinner. She didn't. I've met the woman. She didn't. It's the right to choose. You can be a stay-at-home mom. You can be a career woman. That woman did not march. All those women did not march for you to pay for Southwest egg rolls.
Have you seen some of this kind of movement or talking like on the internet about how people think that feminism did kind of trick us into feeling like we all should be working and having a career while still being mothers. Like they kind of say like their theory is this, that the government and the feminism movement kind of tricked women into like, you should have your own career so that they could collect taxes from another half of the world who really wasn't working before. Because if you look at like the way the world was like 40 years ago, people could live a decent life on one income, the man's income.
People lived a decent life because inflation wasn't crazy. People lived a decent life because the standard of living, because what you earned was closer to what the standard of living was.
Right.
The problem is we have states where the minimum wage is not even $10, but to have an apartment by yourself, you need to make $25 an hour.
Right.
So because there's such a disparagement between how much money people make and what the cost of living is, no matter how many people are working, your kids need to work. Everybody needs to have a job, if that's what the standard of living is. I think what they did with feminism is that men flipped feminism against us. As in, one thing we always have to remember, poor women always worked. Women have always worked. So you had to be in a certain tax bracket to be a woman who did not work.
Correct.
Or be of a certain culture where you were in a woman who wasn't allowed to work. And so the whole point was the right to choose whether or not you worked. It wasn't so all of us need to be in the workforce. It was, as a woman, I should be able to go, I do want to stay at home and take care of my children because my husband makes enough money. Or my wife makes enough money. My partner makes enough money. It was never, all you ladies go to work. Because at a certain point in our society, 100 years ago, if you got married, you weren't allowed to work. It's like, why are you working? Your husband has a job. What are you talking about?
Right.
Get out of here, Mrs. Whoever. Get out. And so, because we have to remember, women couldn't have credit cards or bank accounts up until like the late 60s, early 70s. So it was never set up for us to do this.
Right.
So the whole pink tax and putting extra like feminine items and all that other stuff, it's a way to punish us for going to work. That's what that is.
Yeah.
It's like, how dare she work? And it's like, how dare you not think that me having a tampon is a human right? What are we talking about? So if you look at how baby formula started getting pushed, there's a whole generation of people that think that baby formula is better than breast milk. But for all of human history, we breastfed. Other women would breastfeed other women's children. We're wet nurses. And now all of a sudden, breastfeeding is disgusting. What are we talking about?
Right.
But you had to convince us of this because it's like, okay, now those women working to go into the workforce. Now we have to tell everybody that breast milk is not good. And this flour we done chopped up and put in a can is better than that. Now, were there women that needed formula? Absolutely, because some women didn't produce milk. But the idea that we did it wrong, I think, is another way to make women think that they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
I think that it was used against us. Where it was just like, well, y'all want to work? Fine. You went to work. Now you're going to have to pay more taxes. Because, like, if you look at, like, when did you get to the point in your life where you're just like, I'm going to buy men's razors? This is stupid. It's not a different. Nothing new is happening with the rate. You just made the plastic pink.
I remember my stepdaughter, and this is like 6 years ago when she was in high school. She had like a cute little short haircut. And she is the one that like pointed it out. She's like, why are the boys' haircuts more than mine? Because I have two sons. Mm-hmm. And I go, I guess because it's, styling for a woman. And she's like, but my hair is short too.
Yeah.
Why should? And I was like, oh my God, I never thought of it like that. Mm-hmm. We just accepted, like, yeah, okay, yeah, the dry cleaning the blouse is more expensive than a man's shirt or whatever.
And we don't even know what dry cleaning is.
I know. I don't know how dry cleaning works.
It's just chemicals. Your shirt's just dirty. Your shirt's just covered with chemicals, and it's dirty. It is.
Yeah, that is so. And then I think we can also be our own worst enemy as far as women, because now in this world where everyone has an opinion, you post something and you might get, 90% of the comments are for you. But if the 10% of the comments are women questioning your motherhood or how you're doing something, those are the things we unfortunately latch onto. And the same thing then went for breastfeeding. Like my kids are 18 and 20, and I chose not to breastfeed because I had trouble breastfeeding for the first. And so by the second one, I was like, told the nurses, yeah, I'm not. And they were cool. But like, I remember like being
Other
out
mothers.
yeah, and almost like wanting to fake it. Like I had a joke in my stand up where I would fake that I was breastfeeding, but I really had a bottle under there, like at a restaurant, just so that like people wouldn't be judging or wondering or coming, like my friend's mom came, my mom's friend came up to me like at a grocery store and she's like, congrats on the baby. I heard the breastfeeding didn't work out. I'm like, Mom, why are you telling people? Like so there was a lot of judgment there. And I really think the ultimate feminism is like doing what the fuck you want as a mom, as the person who's if you're raising kids, deciding what's best for you, and whether that's staying at home and having an OnlyFans or, whatever. I think that's where it's good that we're like aware of it and people are pointing out, or you're discovering it on your own, and sharing it with people.
I think the best feminism is telling somebody to mind their own fucking business.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. What do you need? Why are you so concerned about what my titties are doing? Go away.
Right.
Why are you pressed about this? You're worried about my boob and my kid's mouth? You sound weird.
Right.
Just tell somebody, this is weird.
And the same thing goes for when people would be really critical of someone going over 2 years of breastfeeding. I'm like, listen, the kid's not going to want your boob when they're 10. And if it goes until they're 4, again, that's that family's issue. Like, it's not what I would want. It's not what would work for me. But like, there's cultures that go much longer.
Yeah.
And like, there's cultures that carry the child around them and do the baby wearing and all that. And then there's cultures in LA where people do dog wearing. I mean, they wear their dog like a baby.
Yeah.
And if that's what's working for them and their puppy, and that's what makes them happy, and that's the
you can
bonding.
put a dog and a baby in a stroller. But it's like, now there's like, I guess it's like in Nordic countries, the Snow Whites.
Yes.
Just set a baby outside.
Denmark, they say they leave the babies in the strollers outside to sleep. They say they sleep better. Nobody takes them.
And you have to understand that's a wild, like, you have to understand that as Americans, we're like, nobody takes them?
Yeah.
What a wild thing to think. What a wild thing to have to think where somebody's like, damn, you left the kid outside, nobody took it?
Yeah. I know.
What an awful thing for us to be like happy for them. Like,
I know.
They can leave a kid outside, nobody takes it.
That's amazing.
Why can't we leave our children outside and nobody takes them? My
Right.
mother grew up in Miami.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Miami and Atlanta. My mother grew up in Miami. And she said at one point when she was a kid, they couldn't play outside because a man would literally snatch you out of the front yard.
Right.
So they couldn't play outside in the front yard because a man would stop his car and snatch you.
But at that same time that we were taught that, because I'm of the Gen X generation,
Right.
taught, not to be careful when you're outside, we were also taught to get ourselves home and be a latchkey kid.
Yes.
And just lock the door behind us.
Which I also have no problem with.
And if the phone rings,
Don't answer it.
you're not supposed to answer it, or you're supposed to act like your mom was there. I mean, the whole thing. And so now people are like really sort of discovering why we are the way we are, this generation, like a little like nervous, paranoid, and the way we, raised our Gen Z kids is very reflective. And they're like, oh my God, Mom, why are you like that? And then I'm like, because
we were the last generation that was in danger.
Now, how old are you?
I turned 40 last year.
Oh, I thought you were much younger. You look young. You look young. But you're technically millennial. You're millennial.
Technically, yeah.
Yes.
So I was a latchkey kid, but I also started babysitting when I was 9, which I found out was illegal. I did not know that you could not babysit a child while you were a single digit. Who knew?
I started babysitting when I was 12.
No, 9.
So I saw a little bit about how you said you looked a lot older when you were 9.
Yeah, I look like a mother.
Describe that.
Yeah, I have a joke where I say, I look like a mother of 3 since I was 15. Because I had, when I was 9 years old, I had C-cup boobs. And I was 5'1", and my mom used to dress me in suits.
Like a woman's business suit?
Yeah, because
so you look like a realtor? What is going on?
At all times, I look like a grown-ass adult. If you look me in my face, I do a bit about how, the first time a man ever hit on me, I was in a Payless in Miami. And my mom and my aunt would do my hair like an adult hairstyle. So every little girl in Miami, every little black girl had an adult hair. So I had, probably a French roll and some finger waves. So I was never participating in PE. Because he's and I was like, do you understand that these finger waves got to last me until Sunday, coach? I won't be playing football in the Miami Heat. Thank you so much. And so he was crazy. Why would I play touch football with finger waves? You sound stupid. So it's a Saturday morning. We're in this Payless. I'm wearing a suit. And
Now, why was she dressing you in a suit?
because the children's clothes didn't fit, because I had C-cup boobs. I was 9, but I was always built like a woman.
So she kind of wanted to cover up the womanly curves. So instead, she made you a businesswoman.
I literally couldn't wear children's clothing. I was just in her. It's like I was in her clothes because I was 5'1".
All right.
I couldn't. The first time I had a shirt with a cartoon character on it is when they started making adult clothes with cartoon characters on them.
Right.
I never wore children's clothing. So, like, I would have, like, regular stuff, like, T-shirt and shorts or whatever. But on this particular fine day, I was wearing a suit. She'd buy me these little suits. And I think I have, like, a picture from when I was a kid. I'm trying to find it. I'm wearing a suit.
Yeah.
And so it was, like, a little houndstooth one, but it's, like, the 90s style where it's, like, short sleeves and shorts. And then I wore, like, a size 9 shoe. So I wasn't even in kid shoes. Right. So I wasn't in kid shoes. I'm wearing adult. I'm just in this Payless looking like a young businesswoman out here giving you Khadijah James, right? Just very much just Queen Latifah living single situation. And so we're in this Payless, and this man comes up to me, and he goes, and like my back is turned, and I'm looking at adult shoes because I wear a size 9. And he goes, and I just hear this man go, "So what's your name?" But when I turn around, I have the face of a 9-year-old.
Right.
So I turned around and I was like, "I'm 9." And he was like, No. And he's like, ah. And then my mother comes around the corner like, "What the fuck is happening?" He goes, "Why does she look like that?" And then he ran out of a Miami Payless. That man didn't know he would have woke up to be a child predator. I was a setup. That's wasn't his fault. Where's Chris Hansen? Where's the cameras? That's not his fault.
Oh, my God.
But that's when the first time a broke man hit on me. The first time a broke man talked to me was in that Payless. And I was like, if you're in a Payless picking up women, you're not doing great.
No.
You're not even in a mall.
You're just doing it like it's
we're the strip mall.
We're
in the motel of malls. All the doors face out. The cars are right there.
The getaway car.
Listen, when I tell you that man, why did she look? He ran out of the Payless, and I was like, "What happened?" She's like, "Don't worry about it." Because he saw my face and was like, "Oh fuck." Because when I turned around, I was like, "Hi." He's like, Because he went, no. And my mom came around the corner like fucking pure thunder. Sort of fuck him up. He was like, "I didn't, no. Ah. He was very upset. When I say this man ran out of the store.
We were talking before we started about the controversial Katt Williams interview.
God bless that man.
He
gave us so much.
What is that to be alive? Like 15 million views. And what I wanted to get your opinion on the whole situation. And I already talked about on the show what he revealed. He talked about several other male black comedians that he is not a fan of, not a friend of. He felt like in some ways they sabotaged him. He thinks they're phony. He doesn't think they're real stand-ups. He doesn't think they're real talent. He said one couldn't read, one's not a real stand-up. They all have light-skinned wives that look the same.
Which is weird face light-skinned wives, which is what a time.
What did you take from that part? Let's just talk about
he said he wasn't
that kind of a dig.
He said that he was a fan of Earthquake, but he did say Earthquake was illiterate. I don't know the man. I can't speak on it. What I do think is what has always been a conspiracy theory that I would hear growing up, and I would hear as a comic still, is that to be a black man and be successful in entertainment, you had to engage in some type of homosexual activity. And I've always been...
Now, why do you think...
I have no idea. It's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Could it be just that there's just jealousy?
Yes.
And so it's like the same thing. I mean, I remember going into a casting after my first job was writing on Keenan Ivory Wayne's late night talk show.
Ooh.
And it was, I was 27, and he had the show for maybe like a year. And a few months into it, my agent's like, "Would you want to, try to write a packet for this show?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And, back then I couldn't just look up YouTube and watch a bunch of clips. I had to stay home for like 5 nights in a row, watch the show, and come up with like commercial parodies and monologue lines and stuff. And so after that show ended and I was out doing an audition, a white female casting agent goes, "You were writing for Keenan Ivory Wayne's?" And I go, "Yeah." And she goes, "Whose dick did you have to suck to get that job?" I could not believe. I was like, "Are you joking?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah." I'm like,
No, she wasn't.
Oh, my God. I'm like, No, it was so legit. It was so it was the most professional rooms I've ever
she
been
couldn't
in.
understand why a white woman would be writing on a black show. So something had to be, well, this has to be a favor because one, as much as that insults you and is disrespectful to you, it is also disrespectful to Keenan Ivory Wayans and his team.
Right.
Because that means that he cannot recognize what talent is. And he cannot recognize what a good joke writer is. And also, you can't be good enough of a joke writer to work on a show that is hosted by a black man. So she's insulting you especially.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also, she doesn't have the understanding enough of comedy where she can't understand why a white woman would work on a black show.
But now that you've said that, it makes me wonder if there was chatter about me among other comics and stuff. Because when I first started doing stand-up, I grew up here in LA. Mm-hmm. So I get an 8 o'clock spot at the Improv. Mm-hmm. And I'd invite a shit ton of people because I could. And all my friends came and my parents' friends came and they were so happy. They were so supportive of the other comics. But then the mean male comics started spreading rumors that I stole jokes, which wasn't true. And then also I filled the room. She's a room filler.
But you did.
But who doesn't love that? You want to go to an empty room?
I've never understood. You filled the room because you knew the people in the city, right?
Yeah, I was like, come to the show. They're all laughing at you too.
It's all. I've never understood why comics would get mad. So I've seen it where it's like, you're not upset with the person who's filling the room because there's somebody in the room. And then, but 9 times out of 10, a person who's a room filler isn't a good comic, but they're on the show because they're a room filler. So the problem was you were a good comic who also could fill the room, but they can't see both sides of that. Either you're good and you can't fill the room, or you fill the room and you're not good.
Right.
But since you were both, look at all these people here. It's not like what do you mean she has other friends? You mean she knows people that aren't comics? That's crazy. She's a room filler. She can't be good. So it's just a way to be ugly to people. And I was talking to another comic, Shalay was Sharp. She's an amazing comedian. And we were talking about, because it was, we were talking to some younger female comics, and they're asking about us, just our experiences as being female comics and being women and comedy and all of that. And they're like, well, have you had any issues of guys being, and I'm like, no.
Guys being what?
Just making you uncomfortable or saying, like they'll say, if they're saying something that's rude, it's not sexual. It's just rude.
Yeah.
You're just being an asshole. And so they're like, you people sliding in your DMs? It's like, no. She's like, well, what do you mean? I said, when you are a woman that most of these men don't want to sleep with, they just let you be a comic. And it's very interesting to see how different women have to move.
Yeah.
Because there are, it's like, and this guy he was asking me to do this, da 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 da. And then, but what was interesting is when Me Too started happening, all of these male comics got very nervous. And all of the men got very nervous. And they're like, well, I don't want you to think that. I was like, you've never been that way with me. Or it's like because it sprung in one direction.
Right.
And then all the guys got super cautious. And you're like, okay, calm down.
Right.
Also, it's like no one's checking for you. That was the thing that was most interesting. It was like the guys that were the most worried about being in trouble. I was like, no one's thinking about you. So I'm glad you're thinking about this.
Yeah.
But now you're making everyone uncomfortable for this fear that you shouldn't even, you're an open micer. Why are you, I understand, check your behavior, but also making all of us uncomfortable because you're worried about something. Because then now we go in the opposite direction, where it's just like, just be cognizant of what you're doing and how you're talking to people and how you're treating people. Don't be at a show going, man, you can't even say hi to these women anymore. You can't even hug them. And I was like, nobody wanted to hug you in the first place. You're not even funny. Go home. You know who I don't mind giving me an inappropriate hug? Somebody who fucking killed.
Yeah.
Somebody who had a great set, hug me for too long. I'm fine. You bomb every time. Why are you worried about this?
Well,
Go home.
I definitely feel like the only men I had issues with It wasn't about hitting on me. It was about being bitter and jealous and thinking that I didn't deserve what I got, and trying to take it down a notch because I was female or halfway decent looking or that I was from LA and could, invite my friends who showed up and were delights. They were the best audience ever.
Sir, we gave you an audience. Stop talking. It's very... One, I wish comics would be nicer to themselves. Two, I wish comics would be nicer to each other.
Ladies, I have a New Year's resolution for you that's actually easy to keep. This year is the year to finally stop wearing uncomfortable bras. Support for today's Juicy Scoop comes from Honeylove. Honeylove has absolutely changed the bra game, so you no longer have to deal with uncomfortable underwire without sacrificing support. You'll immediately feel and see the difference. Their bras are so comfortable, you won't want to take it off. For a limited time only, you can get Honeylove on sale. Get 20% off your entire order with our exclusive link, honeylove.com/juicy. Support our show and check them out at honeylove.com/juicy. So you guys, you know that feeling when you get home and you just want to rip the bra off with the underwires? It's so uncomfortable. That's why I love Honeylove. I've been wearing them for a few months. I swear to God, I've even slept in it. It is so comfortable. I also love their leggings. Oh, that is another product that I'm just absolutely loving. They are leggings 2.0 to another level. They hold you in so tight, but without feeling compressive. They're cooling. They're comfortable. You are just going to love all of their products. Treat yourself to the best bras and shapewear on the market today. Save 20% off at honeylove.com/juicy. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off honeylove.com/juicy. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that Juicy Scoop sent you. Start the new year with confidence thanks to Honeylove. DraftKings Casino is bringing you only the best. Classics like blackjack, roulette, and slots, plus exclusive games you won't find anywhere else. I mean, my favorite casino game is always slots because you just never know what you're going to get, and it's fun, and it's quick, and it's so exciting. Download the DraftKings Casino app now and use code JuicyScoop. New players get an instant deposit match up to $100 in casino credits when you deposit $5 or more. That's code JuicyScoop, only on DraftKings Casino. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 plus, physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only. Void in Ontario. Eligibility and other restrictions apply. One per new customer. Must opt in and make minimum $5 deposit within 7 days, 168 hours of registering new account. Max match $100 in casino credits, which require one-time playthrough within 7 days, 168 hours. See terms at casino.draftkings.com/new player offer 2024.
When you think of the messiest celebrity feuds of all time, who comes to mind? Is it Taylor Swift and Scooter Braun? Maybe it's Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan. Or just about anyone from any reality TV franchise. Dis and Tell is a podcast from Wondery, hosted by comedians Sydney Battle and Matt Bellassai. Each hilarious episode will take you through one of pop culture's most iconic celeb feuds and serve you a little dose of chaos every week. They recently covered the story of one of the greatest feuds you've probably never heard about, Prince and Michael Jackson. Even though this feud never really played out in the press, there's still plenty of drama and a lot to unpack. Or maybe you've never heard about the explosive and dramatic fallout between Kandi Burruss and Phaedra Parks of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. They went from TV besties to sworn mortal enemies, and the relationship ended with a criminal allegation that rocked Bravo and its fandom for years to come. There's nothing I love more than watching my favorite celebrities have beef. Like this last year when Hailey Bieber and Selena Gomez had beef on TikTok, I was living for it. I wanted to know all the nasty little details. Who was being petty? What other celebrities were they pulling into the fight? How did this even start in the first place? And I can't wait to listen to Dis and Tell and dig into so many celebrity feuds, especially the ones I never knew existed. So if you're ready to gossip and add some more chaos to your life, follow Dis and Tell on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Dis and Tell early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
I want to go to this story that I was going to, because I came across this on TikTok.
What do
you know him? Dion
No.
Brooks? Okay.
He's from here?
This took place in San Diego.
But he's a comic from...
Maybe LA or maybe around here. I don't know. But anyway, he was headlining a club in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And I came across...
He was
first-
headlining.
He was headlining. I
Okay.
came across first the white female who was doing a tell-all on TikTok. Already had a few 100,000 views.
Uh-oh.
She's telling.
What'd you tell?
So she's like, I have been doing stand-up for 8 years, and I got asked to open for this comic.
Okay.
And I did, the audience was loving it, and they were loving me, and he wasn't even there for a while, so I kept going on. And she goes, and I Googled him so that I could introduce him properly. And then he got up there and he basically dissed me and was like, I shouldn't be at this show. So I'm like, wait, what is this? So then I go deeper into looking and I find his response, and he's the headliner.
Yeah.
And he came with receipts. He had video of her finishing up. And she goes, okay, your headliner's in the house. So he's like, hey, it was my show.
Yes.
I sold it out on a Saturday night with
Yes.
my name on the ticket.
Yes.
And in my understanding, they provided the opener, and he said, sure, great. Maybe he's not from San Diego. You go to a club, you're like, sure, whoever. It's fine. It's great.
Not me. I got to see a video. I got
Well, now I do. But I've been in the position where I wanted to be easy breezy. And yeah, I need an opener this how much time. This is before I started to say, no, I got to see who they are, if their comedy works with mine. Now I can be a little more selective. But maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was like, cool, I'm thrilled to be there.
Trying to be nice.
Try to be nice.
Throw him up.
So she gets up there, and, it is a black crowd. They came to see him. He is black. He's, apparently really funny. And she goes, okay, let's get the energy up. Woo! Just not really. And they're still being really nice. The audience still yeah. And then she goes, so your headliner, and he blew up on the internet, which I think is not a cool thing to say. It makes it sound like you're
an internet comic.
Yeah, you're not like, I'm sure he has some type of special. I'm sure he, whatever. You could come up with something
all
else.
of the nicest things. He's very popular, because it's like, if he's popular and successful on the internet, he's getting a lot of views. He's funny. So she's trying to be as nice as she can.
But I don't think it was. I think he was saying, like, I don't think you specifically really looked up what my vibe was, because it seemed a little lazy. So anyway, then he comes out, but then she says, are you guys
I'm excited for this.
Are you guys ready? Are you ready to get buck wild?
Okay. So she's never met black people before.
And so then he comes out, and he's kind of making fun of that. Like, you guys, okay. And I don't think he was being overly dissing to her, but he was
she's
kind of
cute.
like, okay, you guys, we're ready to roll, and let's get going. And she took it as really offensive. He was like, I brought up, I've had female comics on the road with me. I think you have to be respectful of I've gone up after somebody that's bombed, and
Yes.
really bad. I once went up after a guy that in my audience in Aspen did a whole bit on why it's so great to have sex with 40-year-old women because they're old and they're grateful. And I'm like,
Grateful.
first of all, do you know that at this point I'm well over 40, and my audience in Aspen is, guess what? Some rich 40-year-olds. Like, what? So I'm like, if you're going to open for
Grateful.
somebody, yeah, exactly. So I had to follow that.
The disrespect.
And when he also, introducing me, being like, this is my really good friend. We just met backstage.
Let me tell you something. Whoa, good friend. And I remember, so how early in your career were you touring clubs and colleges all over the country? Because people will lie on your credits, and it's like, I want everybody to know. It's like, she's a good friend of mine. We've gone clubs and colleges all over the country. I said, sir, I've never left the South. It was like, this is like the beginning of my career. I have not crossed the Mason-Dixon line telling jokes. And I've never performed at a college. But they don't need to know that.
Yeah.
They don't need to know that I've never performed nobody at school. So, yes, she's a great friend of mine. I was like, we're going to keep. There was literally a comic. We weren't speaking to each other at all. He pulled some fuck shit, and I am very good at boundaries, which I just learned in therapy.
Good
Not
for
speaking
you.
to someone because they disrespected you is not me being a bitch. It's a boundary.
Good,
So leave me alone. And so I was not speaking to this gentleman because he pulled some fuck shit. And he brought me up. she's a good friend of mine, and we had to hug, and then he gets off stage, and then afterwards it was like, and after he comes back on stage, all right, great set, because I had a great set, and he's a good host, but the audience does not need to know that I will kick him into traffic. They don't need to know that.
I agree. So I came out and I did not diss the 40-year-old joke. I just was like, let's shake it off. Let me get your focus on me.
Right.
Let's get the focus back on me. Let's have a
You're
great
better
show.
than me.
So in talking about this, I would say,
You're better than me.
I would say maybe don't share that you're pissed with your opener because
It depends. Now, mind you, you're better than me. If it's my crowd, I would just come on stage and go, grateful? And that's all I would have said.
Yeah.
I don't even have to go on anything else. You heard what he said. Grateful? Who? Where? In this economy? How dare you? And then I would have moved on because
Right.
sometimes you can address the thing. Sorry, I'm slowly coughing on water. You can address the thing without coming for somebody's neck. Now, I think we're to the age now where we're just like, instead of you, I've had people try, like, there was a comic who brought me up one time and said my name completely wrong. And so afterwards, so when I got up, I joked about him saying my name wrong. And then after that, he tried to, like, school me, quote unquote, and how I did wasn't right. And I said, you said my name wrong, and I made a joke about it. Get over it.
and in doing
were you talking
and doing
to?
sometimes with that, you can be sort of self-deprecating, like, way to make me feel special. Thank you. I've sold out the place.
Right.
I remember Leanne Morgan, I had her on the show, and she was
Mm-hmm.
so excited, to do a show. And it was like she sold out. It was like one of the first times she sold out. They had a
Mm.
guy open for her. And his intro was like kind of dissing her. Like sometimes I think with these guys, when it's with a female, their egos are so fragile. And I think sometimes as women, we recognize that and we're too like nice. And everyone talks about emasculating men. I think there's women who masculate men that don't deserve to be masculated. Like, why are we like
Too
feeding their
nice.
ego and being like, "Oh yeah, we sold out this show, great," when you know it's you,
Right.
but you're just like, "Oh, I don't want this guy's ego to get out of check because he's an insecure man and I know it, and I can placate him a little."
One, he's in the city. You're never going to see him again.
Yeah.
Two, I can tell you, this is my 15th year doing stand-up. It'll be 15 years in May. There's only been one male comic who I saw was trash
Yeah.
and actually ended up making something of himself.
Okay.
But that was because I saw him start doing the work of becoming a better comic. The first time I saw him, I was like, ugh. I didn't pay him any mind. Also, he was rude. And so there's only one time out of all the hundreds of male comics that I've seen, or just comics in general, that are just like, no. There's only been one time that I was wrong. Every other time, you stayed in your city and you opened for whoever and you didn't go anywhere. Because you took more time to be disrespectful to your headliner. Because in my mind, if you're disrespectful to me, every other woman that comes in here, you're going to be disrespectful to. Every other black person that comes in, you're going to be disrespectful to. The issue that I had when I started, because when I got Daily Show, that's when I could start doing clubs. Because we've all seen white male comics do late night one time, and now all of a sudden they're on the road. I had to book Daily Show so I could start doing clubs. Right? I started doing clubs, and it's like after a while, I'm like, hey, I want to be able, because I keep getting these shitty openers, and I was like, who is this? Or y'all didn't even try, or, well, such and such couldn't make it, but y'all don't give a shit that I'm here, but there's people in the audience, so why are we acting like this? So I started going, now I'm like, I want to bring my own person. And so, because I was bringing people out, and the clubs were fighting me because they were worried that I was going to bring another black woman and the show was going to be very black. So I started taking one of my friends who's a white dude on the road with me. I was like, can I bring my... I was like, because my manager was like, well, we're not sure. I said, tell him it's a white dude, and I promise you it won't be a problem. And 70% of the time, they didn't have an issue because I brought Joe Kelly with me. He's a great comedian. He's a very sweet man. He's beautiful. But I had less and less issues when I would bring a man with me than I ever was like, well, we're not sure. What are you not sure about? It's my audience.
Right.
Why are you worried about the show being so black if it's my audience? Also, I have a diverse audience.
Yeah.
I'm on a diverse show. I have a diverse audience. So, because I remember there was a guy, I was doing shows like the DC Improv, and I had an opener, and he was eating dicks like he ordered them. Like just
Bombing.
Not doing great. He had more merch than jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Had girls selling his merch, and I was like, I don't.
Oh, I've had the opener that talks about his merch. He does his 20 minutes or 15 minutes, and then talks about the merch for another 10.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, never again. Yeah,
No,
that won't happen anymore. But I had those days. Yeah, go on.
So we were doing like I think 5 shows together, 5 or 6, and he does like, and not only that, he's not even speaking to me when we're in the green room, and I was like, I know this. And all of his jokes were like, well, ladies, you need to. Oh, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? Tell me. What do I need to do? You mediocre fucking man. Tell me. Thank you. So what? Tell me more. What do I need to do? So I'm watching this very regular ass comic tell these regular ass jokes, and then not speak. And it's like almost acting like he's too good to speak to me in the green room. Like, sir, I'm the reason you're making money this weekend. So the manager of the club comes up to me, and it's comedian Eagle Wit. I love Eagle Wit. He's an amazing comic. He's so funny. I'd never met Eagle before. And so the manager was like, hey, his kid Eagle Wit. And we said, just give him a couple minutes. I'm like, I don't know this kid. I don't know him. I don't know. But then I looked over and saw this man just talking. I don't even know he's telling jokes anymore. He's just on stage just saying words. And I was like, well, he can't be worse than him. He can't be. So I let Eagle go up and do like 7 minutes on the first show. And then Eagle got off, and I went to the manager, and I said, Eagle's featuring for me now. Kick that guy off my show. And I took the dude off the show.
Good.
And Eagle in his 7 minutes showed up and showed out. And I was like, because at one point I was like, Jesus, please send me anybody to get this man off my show.
I know, because sometimes when they're bombing so bad, you're like, is the audience just going to get tired? Are they going to leave? Like, this is just like, you're just like, oh my God, flash the light. Like,
get him out of here.
Yeah, I can't take it.
Because the weirdest part was, it's not that if he was bombing, it would have made more sense.
Yeah.
What he was doing was just making everyone just kind of uncomfortable.
Ugh, the worst.
And so it was like, even
the vibe.
Right. Because like, men at a comedy show are there with a woman.
Yeah. Because
people were like, well, I don't know. It's like, you're really pretty. Why are you single? And I was like, I do stand up.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? It's like, you don't meet guys that shows us that single men don't come to comedy shows. Single men, I saw a bachelor party at a comedy show one time years ago. And I was like, whose wife wouldn't let you go to the strip club? And they were like, Bobby. And he's like, what? I'm just being respectful. They're like, Bobby's wife wouldn't let us go. And I was like, why did Bobby have to come? I'm like, he's the best man. I was like, you could have just not invited him. You could have gone to a burlesque show. Your wife doesn't know that's art. There's still titties in it.
Right.
But yeah, so it's like, no, single men don't come to comedy shows. It's a man in a relationship. So if you get on stage and make this man's woman uncomfortable with your stupid like comedy, what women need to do, now he's going to spend the next 2 days having to answer for all the things that you told women they needed to do.
Well, okay.
You're messing his whole night up. And hers.
A couple things. Just finishing on this girl going on TikTok.
I'm sorry, I did a tangent.
No, I loved all of it. I just want to say, this girl, the opener or the feature, going on TikTok and talking smack. It's like, not talking smack, telling her story. She's right to tell her story. She's probably so excited that she got all these, views. Mm-hmm. But who is going to want her now to open up for them? Exactly. It's the same time when I see like a makeup artist that's telling on a bad experience they had with, a star or a diva. I'm like, well, I'm never hiring you because how do I know that you're not going to walk in and maybe I just got some really sad news. Maybe some deal fell through. Maybe I broke, had a fight with my kid. Like, so every moment, if I'm not 100% the biggest delight, that you can now go and do a TikTok about it. Because I know I've met thousands of people that will say I'm a delight,
yes.
But is there one floating out there that could fucking ruin my life? Yes. Maybe.
This is what people are always so worried about cancel culture.
Yeah.
This is what I think is interesting about cancel culture. We all took all of these people, men and women, who were abusing their power to get sexual favors from people. Or not even that. If people were abusing their power to get sexual favors or whatever favors from people is wrong. But I noticed that we were only looking to take down certain people. You're not going to the manager of a Hooters who's harassing those girls all day. You're not looking for, I've worked plenty of jobs where a supervisor made me uncomfortable. You're not trying to find the night manager of Pep Boys. Now he's harassing that girl in the back. You're not trying to take him out. You're not trying to get him fired. You're trying to get famous people, rich people fired.
Yeah.
So if the whole point is to make sure that women and people of all backgrounds and whatever cannot be harassed and terrorized in their workplace, then it needs to be across the board. If you're going to take down Harvey Weinstein, take down Harvey Weinstein. He's a horrible human being. But also, take down this man who's running an Arby's and terrorizing these little girls who come in here to drop these fries all damn night. It needs to be across the board. It can't just be rich, famous people.
Right.
Yes, they have a lot of power and influence, but also I've worked places where this one man had power and influence over 20 women answering phones. Or where I worked in a car lot where my boss told me that if I wanted to make more commission, I had to sleep with him. It's in my book. Hello, friends. So,
Yes.
you see what I'm saying? So it's like, if we're going to do this, then it can't just be rich people. It has to be everybody. Because then it's going, oh, you only want to, I promise you, Harvey Weinstein will never work again. But he has enough money to where he's fine.
Well, he's in prison.
He's
so.
in prison, and he'll be fine. There's money on his books.
Yeah.
There's money on his books, so he's going to be all right. But the people that worked around him made enough money to where they'll probably be fine.
Right.
Everyone who's gotten canceled and taken down, they had money.
And the other thing is about it in Hollywood is there were all these people that knew that he was a rapist and everything and probably knew their friends' stories or knew of it. But when the opportunity came to be in the movie, they were just like, well, I just won't go to the Peninsula Hotel, but I will still do the movie and I will still work with him and I will still take the Oscar and I will still thank him. And then when it all gets revealed, they've got the Me Too, black bow and talking about it like it's enough times up. And it's like, bitch, where were you? You were just acting like la 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 la, and that's when. So that's Hollywood for you, though.
I mean, I think, but people like to hold celebrities to a certain standard because the general public is responsible for their money.
Mm.
Brad Pitt is rich because people want to go see him in movies. All these people, we all are successful because people come and take in our media, come to see our shows, come and buy our book, and all of these things. So they feel like that we owe them something, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, I contributed to your success, so you have to acknowledge me, which I understand.
That's so true, yeah.
So that's why I was like, people can get upset where it's like, well, that person didn't want to take a picture with me. That person was crying.
Yeah.
And so it's like and so what has happened now with social media is like we've taken. When you were growing, I never knew what Mariah Carey was doing on a regular basis when I was a kid.
Right.
Nor did I want to fucking know. But now it's where her and her kids are learning a new dance in front of their Christmas tree.
Right.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that's her job. Now she has to dance in front of her Christmas tree. Now she has to dance in front of a Christmas tree.
I mean, when all the big stars had to sign up for Instagram, I was like, oh, how pissed are they?
Girl!
When they were like, okay, guess we're doing this now. I'm like, they don't want to. They had it so easy.
Mariah Carey used to sing the highest note you'd ever heard. She was the queen of Christmas. It's her and Jesus is who we know about.
Now
Christmas
she has
time.
to do a cookie recipe.
And now she got to dance in front of a Christmas tree with her children. Because you can't. Why you need Mariah Carey? She's listen, since the 90s, she went to tournament and all of that.
And I kind of get annoyed, too, because I'm like, also, like, some of them are coming on it and doing the same things and that we're all doing. And I'm like, God, can we have one thing? Like, you're up here. Can you let these influencers be here? But at the same time, they have to do it. They have to do it. Otherwise, they're being told they're inauthentic and not accessible and unrelatable. And so then they have to hire a team of social media person who's like, okay, you're going to do like do you see the Kim Kardashian bit? Where you know how people go, that one trend that's going on, like, hi, we're from Orange County. Of course we're going to go to da-da-da-da. So she did one in her beautiful mansion, and she's like, I'm Kim Kardashian. Of course I have all my magazine covers framed down the hallway.
As she should.
And all this. And then she goes, I'm Kim Kardashian. Of course I have a tanning bed and an infralight, whatever.
Yes.
Or the red light thing. course, everyone's like, "What are you doing with the tanning bed?" She's like, "I have psoriasis. It helps with it."
Which is crazy.
and
The one thing that a tanning bed helps with.
My dad had psoriasis, and he would go to the tanning. He would do the standing tanning. That helped with it.
She didn't lie.
She's not lying.
Because we've all seen if you are Kardashians.
Yeah.
I remember there was an episode where like she had a photo shoot and her
Right.
psoriasis was flaring up.
Yeah.
And she was in tears because it was like my arms are gonna have to be. It's a photo shoot. You're gonna see my arms. You're gonna see my legs.
Right.
And so what I think is interesting is like as much people. I remember reading someone that was like, I hate watch that show, and I was like, let me tell you something. The ratings aren't different.
Yeah.
If you hate watch something, it doesn't become a half a point.
Right.
It doesn't stop being a rate. It doesn't stop being like we got a view.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't have to hate watch. You don't have to sit there you don't have to seethe for an hour because they bought a house or whatever. I think I've never understood the hate watching of things because it's like
Right.
you could have done something else with your day. You could have used that hour to do anything else. You could have watched something you liked.
Yeah.
But instead you would have sit up and spent an hour being mad at Kim Kardashian for what? That girl ain't think about you.
Okay, I want to get a little into your success.
Yes, hello.
So let's talk about The Daily Show and
Yes.
how that came about. So once you stopped wearing adult suits,
Yes.
then and left the Payless store,
Yes.
where did you go? When did you start stand up? Did you go to college? Like, what was a little bit your path?
So so basically I started acting when I was a kid, and then so I acted all through school, and then I got a theater degree, graduated from Retrial University in 2005, and then a friend of mine worked the door at a comedy club in Atlanta, and she let me in for free, and that was 2007. So I wasn't like working on a play because I still did plays and stuff. So I played Benitha in Raisin in the Sun. I used to work at Stone Mountain Park, and I did the VeggieTales show where I would teach the children.
Oh,
so I
cute. Yeah.
did. I did summer stock. I did multiple theater camps, children's theater camps.
So was your goal, like, what was your goal? What
The
did
goal
you
was to be an
see?
actor
And did you see movies, sitcom, and
Mhm.
all of it?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
because I wanted to make a living as a performer.
Yeah.
That was the goal. I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't think of anything else I wanted to do.
Mhm.
At one point, I did want to be a marine biologist and work with dolphins, but they make you learn so much math.
Yeah.
And I was like, for what? Dolphins don't know fractions. Why am I doing this? What are you talking about? You sound crazy. So so it's like 2007, so 2 years after I graduated from college, and Big Kenny Johnson, who's a comic in Atlanta, I met him and a couple other comics, Johanse Collins and Clayton English, and just from talking to them in conversation, like, yo, you should start doing stand-up. I'm like, I'm okay. And one day Big Kenny pulled me to the side and he's like, listen, you're supposed to do this. I was like, because I was afraid to do stand-up because I'd never been on stage and said my own words and been myself.
So did they say it because you just were a funny storyteller?
He was like, he said, you know how to tell a story. He said, you know where a punchline is in a story. He said, he said, the fact that you know how to tell a joke is already going to make things a lot easier for you. He's like, also, you've been acting your whole life, so you know how to stand on stage. You have stage presence. You know where your light is.
Yeah.
You just need the other parts of like how to write a joke. What's the setup? What's the premise? All of these? You need the structure of a joke. And I was like, thank you, but no. And so for 2 years, and then Big Kenny was in this all black improv group called Blacktop Circus. And so he would have me and he would invite me to comedy shows he was performing at. He'd have me and my mom come see an improv, and then I was in an improv troupe for 2 years. And then in 2009, I wasn't working because I gotten laid off again, and because we were in a recession, and I was on unemployment again, which is not welfare, by the way. And
No, it's not.
and the number of people that don't know what unemployment, they pay into it every time they have a job. It's
remember-
insane.
I remember one time, the first time I was like, I got laid off my first job and I had this boyfriend, and I go, oh, well, now I could get unemployment. I was a buyer at Robinson's May, and they fired me or whatever. And he's like, I don't know how I feel about that. I go, what do you mean? I'm like,
I paid for this.
yeah, we paid for this.
The
is a
government
thing.
set this up to where
This-
if you lose
yeah.
your job through no fault of your own, you're not destitute.
Yeah. So anyway,
It's one of the lines on your paycheck.
yeah.
Medicare, Social Security, unemployment. I'm so tired of explaining to white people how America works.
Me too.
It's exhausting. Y'all been here y'all whole lives. What happened? What don't you get? Anywho's,
good. Continue. Go on.
I'm here to help.
Yeah.
So I'm on the unemployment, and Bikini's like, I'm teaching a stand-up class. I was like, and it cost $300. I said, that is basically my whole unemployment check for a week. I can't do it. And he's like, you're supposed to be a comic. I'm not going to charge you for the class.
Oh my gosh, this is
And so
awesome.
I go to start, and I'm not sure. And I told my mother about it, and she said she had a dream that the whole world was laughing at me, but she didn't know what it meant because she was like, "Why are they laughing at my baby?" And so she's like, "I know what's going on. You were standing, all these people were laughing at you." And I was like, "All right, he's gonna let me take the class for free. My mom had a dream.
The universe is telling me.
All right, Jesus, let me go take this class."
Yes.
And so it was interesting because I graduated from college in May in 2005, and I graduated from the stand-up class in May in 2009.
Not to make it about me, but I had the stand-up thing. I took a class too,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a friend that threw down the class and said, "You've got to take down Maya Dyer." My friend, believe me, I'll give her credit till the day we die, and she's like, "This is what you should be doing." So I took the little class, and you need the class to figure out how to get your stories to be relatable to the rest of the world.
Yes.
And so I love that there's that. So when people say, "Oh, you can't learn comedy," I go, "No, you got to have the it factor."
Yeah.
But there are things that will help you get there. And they're classes, they're writing classes basically.
What I think is the number of times, I remember I was at the Cellar one day, I was sitting at the comics table, and and I'm just minding my business, being a Christian, not paying attention to what's going on. And then I get roped into this conversation. Just standing there, again, sitting there, minding my business. And they're just talking about stand-up classes. And they're so stupid and blah-da-da. Isn't that right, Dulcé? And I was like, I took a stand-up class. And he was like, what? I said, you probably should have asked me a question before you put me in this conversation. He's like, you did? And I said, I did. I said, the reason I do stand-up is because a comic told me I was a comic and put me in a stand-up class. I said, if I hadn't taken that class, I wouldn't be a comic. And he was like, yeah, so sometimes you are work, but other times I'm like, And everybody at the table was like, no, you use her an example. She's more successful than you, and she took a stand-up class.
And everybody's path, especially now in today's world, can be very different.
Yes.
You can really pop doing your funny stories on a TikTok or whatever, but you should also try to get on like in a troupe or an SNL or something, because you've got to collaborate with people. That's the one thing about these funny people that, I
Yes.
find. And I'm like, there might be someone telling you, oh, you don't even need to be on SNL. You could make more money doing TikTok or whatever. I go, but you're not, but you got to work with other people. You got to be in a room with other people and be collaborative.
Thing, though. Here's what you've been on the road and you've seen it. People, I'm not going to discount that they are comics. I'm not going to do that. They are funny. But some of these online comedians who do sketches, doing sketches is not doing stand-up.
Right.
This is a different skill set. I've taken a sketch writing class. I've taken a stand-up class. Sketch writing and doing stand-up is not the same thing. So there are people who are online comedians who do these sketches. I'm waiting for the day we stop saying skits. Truly am. So they all comedy skits. I'll fight you in the street, ma'am. And so they do these online sketches, and then they get booked at comedy clubs to do stand-up. No.
Because they have this big following, yeah.
What they should be doing is their sketches in the stand-up, in clubs.
Yeah.
You have proven yourself to be very successful at doing a sketch. Doing stand-up is different. And so I've seen online comics lose their following because I can't remember who it was. It was the Hodge twins or somebody? They were at Caroline's. And they were supposed to be doing stand-up, and we were just watching just one by one as their audience was walking out of the room. And it's a shame because no one told them, hey, this is hard. In the same way that writing sketches is difficult, we've all tried to write a sketch. It's fucking hard.
Yeah.
Success in one thing is not success in another. There are very different types of
Right.
comics.
It doesn't always translate.
No, there are people who... Think about the number of dramatic actors who could never tell a joke.
Right.
You can't put certain people in a comedy. But there's also comedic actors you can't put in a drama.
So, okay, let's get back to you because I took you off.
So
I took you on a tangent.
You took me on a
Okay,
tangent,
so,
and so-
but
yeah.
so you have your successful first time at the graduation.
I had the graduation, and one of my college professors came because he'd actually told me when I was in college that I started doing stand-up, and I was like, that's cute, thank you so much, but no.
Yeah.
And then he gave me a radio show. And so I just started doing just stand-up around the city, but I got passed at one of the clubs in the city within a year. But also within a huge scene. Because when I
Yeah.
was starting out, there was like not a show on a Tuesday.
Right.
And so I remember like, okay, this is Monday. We're at Star Bar. So here we are. Because I started out in Atlanta. And so the good thing is like the club I performed at a regular basis, I met so many different, it's like how I met Baron Vaughn, who was like a mentor to me. And that's how I met Tone Bell, who's like a big brother to me. Our parents literally lived a mile apart from each other in Atlanta. That's how I know Bobcat Goldthwait. So who was very supportive of like younger comics and newer comics, and Tom Segura and Aaron Foley. That's how I started opening for Sarah Tiana for every time she came to Atlanta.
Oh, no, Sarah, yeah.
So Sarah's amazing.
Yeah.
I remember when I moved here in 2016 and moved to LA, she was down in Melbourne. She's going to be down in the Melbourne Comedy Festival. And I saw her at the Improv one day. And she's like, come get my car. And I was like, what? And she's like, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. You have to come get my car. And I was like, what? She's like, come get the car. And I was like, okay. Because it's like, oh, this is a big sister moment.
Yeah.
We're just like, listen, I'm going to be gone.
You can have my car.
Come get you. She's like, don't you have to go to meetings and stuff like that? I was like, yeah. She's like, come get my car.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it was once I started performing, but then it's like you get to a certain point. So around like 2013, I said, okay, I'm passing all the clubs in the city. I'm doing stuff on a regular basis. And I would get off of work and like drive 2 hours to like Augusta and do shows and come back. Or I would get off of work and drive 2 to 3 hours in any direction outside of Atlanta, do comedy, and then drive back and then go to work the next day.
What was your day job?
Oh man, I had so many day jobs. I would always do bilingual customer service. I speak Spanish.
Oh, good for you.
Thank you so much. That's what happens when you're a little girl in Miami and you're just like, hey, you know this language? You should probably speak it.
Yeah.
And so I was speaking Spanish since I was 9 years old. And so I worked at a power company, a trash company. I managed an auto body shop. I worked at a car lot. I worked for car insurance companies. There's a whole chapter in the book called I Keep a Job.
I love it.
Just because like it would be crazy to me where I'd meet someone that's like, oh, I want to start doing I stopped comedy full time, so I quit my job. And I'm like, oh, that's stupid.
Right.
They're like, what do you mean? I was like,
I always had a regular job too. Yeah.
You have a regular job until you can't. So like my last day job, I did bilingual sales and customer service for a stucco supply company in Atlanta, which is no longer open. But I'm still friends with my boss because I owe her a Mercedes. Because this is the agreement. So my last year working there, I was only supposed to get 5 days off of work. As a regular job, I had to take 5 days off, which is insane, by the way.
Yeah.
For as many days as a worker, as many days at a job you work, to give me 1 week
A year.
out of 52 weeks,
Yeah.
demons. And so I was only supposed to get 5 days off. She gave me 13 to do. So 2015, everything changed. I did a comedy festival, and I got second place in the festival. And then one of the judges, Reg Tigerman, became my manager. One of the...
Oh, he was my manager. I just like, why does that name sound familiar? Oh, he was my manager at one time. Come on.
Yeah, Reg Tigerman. He was at Levity. Now he started his own agency.
Okay, good.
And he's still my manager because he is amazing.
Good.
He's the only... And also, it's like, just a sidebar, like, I did not know how much of a blessing it is to actually be friends with your manager. Because I didn't know so many people weren't friends with their managers. Very like a business interaction. I was like, but this is the person you're like planning your life with.
Right.
And your career with. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes like I don't realize, like after talking to other comics, I'm like, oh, I'm very fortunate and blessed in my situation. Because I'm like, he came to a taping I was doing and there was a guy there and he's like, yeah, so we got to, yeah. And then he goes, so who's this?
Yeah.
Right? So we talk about like boys. And so at that festival, and then it's like Michael Cox was there and he was
He was our booker at Chelsea lately. Yeah.
Right. And so at the time he was working with NBC Stand Up for Diversity. And so then he put me in the callback round of Stand Up for Diversity. So I didn't have to do the big cattle call audition part. And then I ended up winning Stand Up for Diversity that year. And then the former booker for JFL was there, and then that's how I got New Faces. And so, and then at the time, I signed with Reg, and then I got a college agent, and then started going to NACAs.
Oh, yeah?
And so...
And did you enjoy doing the colleges?
No one enjoys doing colleges.
And the reason
because it
pays well.
Well, at a certain point, it does.
Yeah.
But when you first start, when you're working with, like, when you're going to these NACAs.
Yes. You have to go to the conference to get chosen.
So I went to 8 NACAs.
Oh, wow.
In 2 years. And I ended up doing like 60 shows.
Uh-huh.
And so, because when I first got, because like when I moved here in 2016, like I did Conan. And then, so I moved here on a Thursday, did Conan on a Monday. Here's the thing, people are like, oh my God, you moved here and got Conan that quick? No, that's not how that works. I already knew I was going to do Conan. I just lined up when I moved here.
Right.
But people love to switch the story. Or it's overnight success we know is not overnight.
Right.
Like when I look at like Tom Segura now,
Yes.
it's amazing.
Right.
Because I remember opening for him in Atlanta in 2012 and we were bonding over the twerk team. There were 2 girls on Twitter. They were amazing.
Yeah.
Just blessings. I hope they're doing well. God bless.
Yes.
But so 2015, my whole life changed. And then in 2016, so Winston University had a holding deal, so I had to move to LA.
Right.
But I remember when I started doing colleges and I looked at my boss and I was like, this was like November 2015. And I was like, I got to take a day off because I got to go to Texas to do a comedy show. And she's like, you're going to have to put in your notice. And I was like, why? She's like, I can't give you any more days off of work. You have to quit now. And I was like, what am I supposed to do tomorrow? She's like, God's got you. You're fine. And so I do the show and then I fly to Texas. I'm in an Airbnb. Some random woman comes, like the lady who had the Airbnb was like, I'll pick you up too. And I was like, okay, sure. And so I'm like praying, like, Lord, please, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I go to sleep and I wake and I take a nap and I wake up before my show and I got a call from Sarah Tiana. She was working on Wriggles Picks. And she'd got me a job with them like a year before. Mm-hmm. And she's like, they're going to be in Atlanta on Friday. Can you do it? They pay like $1,000. And I was like, thank God. And so stuff just started picking up.
Yeah.
And then I moved to LA in February of 2016. And then in July of 2017, I booked Daily Show. So in September of 2017, I had to move to New York.
And in doing Daily Show, were you, I mean, obviously you're very intelligent and you can talk about different politics and have a fresh take. Mm-hmm. But were you a fan of it? Did that make you a little nervous at all? Like being that it is a political show and it's not just, fluff?
What was interesting is that, because I talk about the whole audition process in the book, so I want to spoil it for anybody. But I never saw myself as a political comic. But since I talk about my experiences as a Black woman in America, people see me as a socio-political comic. Because I'm just telling you what happens in my life. And so once actual politics gets involved, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this. Also, the show is a machine. Mm-hmm. So I just stepped in and I'm just like, all right, what am I going to do? Also, thank God, I'm talking about the baby Jesus and the grown one too. Thank God for Roy Wood Jr.
Yeah.
The number of times where I was lost, I didn't know what was going on. I just walked in, I was like, because I knew Roy. Because I'd met him like in a NACA like a year before.
Yeah.
And everybody knows Roy is the nicest comic. Sometimes I'm like, you're too nice. All these open micers shouldn't have your phone number. Either you need a Google line.
You need a side phone.
You need a side phone for open micers. Stop being so nice. It's just you're utilizing too much of your time between too nice to people. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be helped, but you can't help everybody.
Right.
That was rude, but I don't care. He's a very nice man. He's too nice sometimes because it takes up his time. But he, the number of times I was like, help, Unc! And I would just be in his office. I was like, what the fuck is happening in here? I have no idea what's going on. I'm not sure what they just asked me to do. And he's like, oh. And then he would just break down what's happening. Or it's like, I'm pitching. I was like, I don't know, I'm supposed to be, what the fuck? He go, come here.
Yeah.
And then he would help. But there is an email that Desi sent to me.
Who's Desi?
Desi Leidick, one of the correspondents on the show.
Okay.
And so Desi, it's an email that, so since the show started, there's this email that has been going from like correspondent to correspondent to correspondent. And I think maybe Samantha B sent it to Desi maybe.
Okay.
But you can see the thread.
Oh, cool.
And so it's like just encouraging words to like another correspondent.
Nice.
I think I might have sent it to Jabuki. I can't remember. But I remember getting this, and it's just like you could see, like, oh, because I went back on the thread, and I'm just like, is that Rob Riggle's name? Is this person? Is that Steve Carell? And you could just see, like, through the years, somebody was like, here's some encouragement. Here's some encouragement. So it's this one email thread that it's just been passed on and passed on and passed on because it's a very difficult job.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult job. The correspondents are not writers on the show. We are not in the WGA. We're all in SAG. And so what is interesting is because we're all stand-up comics, we're all stand-up comics, so we know what comedy is. We know how to perform stand-up. We know how to perform comedy. We also have our own voice. And the thing that was the most important to Trevor when we came in is because before the show is the writers would write for the correspondents, and then you just say these words. Trevor didn't want us to just say the words. He wanted everything, every time we came on camera, for it to be in our voice and our comedic voice. So that's why when you see us on the show, I'm saying words that I sound like I would actually say.
Yeah.
And again, it's in a tense, and it's in my syntax, it's in my terminology. And then it got to a point, I think, where I just came out to yell at America.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Well,
it was just me
your
yelling.
stuff is really funny. You got to also guest host. Where are we and who takes over the Daily Show? Have they...
You know, as a performer, that the talent is the last person to know anything.
Okay. But I just keep
And
hearing
that
things,
has
so
not
I didn't know
changed.
if I missed
Well, I
something.
can tell you all of the articles that came out after the Emmys are conjecture.
Okay.
Because it was like, well, they won an Emmy. We got to say something.
Right.
And it's like, because I was looking at these articles, I was like, well, who the hell said this?
Yeah.
And I literally asked our EP of the show, I was like, what's happening? She's like, we didn't. This isn't us. This is just them talking.
So are you back on it as a correspondent and occasional host, or where are you now? Do you stand with the Daily Show?
Oh, I'm still on the show.
Okay.
I just go back. I live in LA now, so I just go back and forth.
Okay.
So I didn't leave the show. No.
Okay. And then when you were the guest host, so you did it for a week, or how did that work?
So this is what happened.
Uh-huh.
So my week was the week where the writer's strike started. So originally it was going to be my week, but then so we had to. There's always been adjustments of schedules, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, this person can do it here. We'll do this, and it's like, okay, this one all the correspondents are going to do it. Boom. We get the schedule. I don't know that there might be a writer's strike because I'm not in the WGA. So I host on a Monday. The show airs. 30 minutes later, the strike started. And then I don't host again until November.
Oh, okay.
So I only hosted 2 nights. So my week got cut. So it was like, because I was like, well, what are we going to do if the strike happens? We're like, we'll see. And I'm like, okay. And so, but I got to interview the amazing winner of season 15 of RuPaul's Drag Race.
I watched
Sasha
that,
Colby.
and you won a GLAAD for that?
We got nominated for a GLAAD Award.
Okay.
For the interview where she talks about being a happy trans person.
Yes.
Which I can understand because it's like, she said so many times we're just portrayed with these tragic stories. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of like being a person of color on television.
Yeah.
Or it's like why I got to show, like, if you're an actress that looks like me, you're going to be the best friend.
Right.
Because why would I be the center of attention?
Right.
Why would I not be the best friend in someone's story? Why would I not be? That's why people love, like, Michelle Buteau's Survival of the Thickest so much, because she's the main character in the story.
Yeah, she's great.
She's amazing. She really helped me with the book.
Oh, good.
Because she wrote her book.
Yeah.
And because my man, Reg tricked me. This is how I wrote a book. He was like, well, what if you wrote a book? I was like, I don't know. That sounds like a lot of work. And he was like, well, let's just take a meeting. I was like,
Yeah.
I could take a meeting. You can always take a meeting. And so we meet with the book agent. And she's like, listen, we'll just put some feelers out. We'll figure it out. Sure. We'll just take some meetings. I'm like, I could take a meeting. I don't know if I'm going to write a book. Who knows if I'm going to write a book, right? Who knows? And then we take some more meetings. And then we take some more meetings. And we take some more meetings. And it's like, okay, well, there's a proposal. And I was like, well, what's that? They're like, just write up what you think you'd make a book about. And I was like, okay, we figured that out. Then you take some more meetings. And it's like, okay, so Anscape's going to buy your book. And I was like, wait, what? And they're like, oh, yeah, you got to write a book now. And I was like, what just happened? I took some meetings and I wrote a thing.
So then you got an offer.
And then I got an offer.
Right.
And then I was just like, well, who? And they're like, Anscape. And I was like, what's that? They're like, oh, it's Disney. I was like, what? And so they're like, yeah, so you got an offer, so we're going to accept it. And I was like, wait, I gotta write a book now? They're like, yes.
And what was your process of writing the book?
Calling Michelle Buteau and being very worried. Because I was like, I don't know where to start. I don't know what I'm supposed to, because like I have the proposal, but then it's like 3 pages and that book is not, it's not skinny.
Yeah.
So like 3 or 4, a proposal and like close to 300 pages. That's the 2 different things. And I was like, I had an idea, but I was like, I don't know where to really start. And she suggested that I start with stories that I can't tell on stage because they're too long.
Right.
She's like, people are going to want to know, I was like, people are going to know how I grow up. She's like, yes. So it's like how you grow up, how you got into comedy, all of that, being on the show. She's like, but really the meat of it can be, these are stories that that are funny, but they're too long to tell on stage.
Right.
And that's where I started from.
And I'm going to just look at that. Well, I wrote a book. I wrote 2 books too. And it is, I always say, like, yeah, when you had all the time in the world,
yes.
or, and you would have loved to have gotten a book deal, that's not when you get it. You get the book deal when you have no time in the world, and you have to give yourself deadlines. And so my advice to people is, like, make it about quantity, just get it down, and you can always go back. Did you have a time of day that you wrote, or like how did you get through getting the 300 pages?
I had to find time to write it when I wasn't on the road, when I wasn't, because I do the voice of Honeybee on the Cartoon Great North.
Yeah.
So when I'm not recording for Daily Show, not doing the voice of Honeybee, not on the road, because it was like when we were in lockdown.
Yeah.
Come on, book.
So you got a lot done then.
That's not when it happened. It happened when
exactly. It never happens at the right time.
It never happens when you have all that time.
Yeah.
It happened when I got recorded for Great North from home. I'm doing Daily Show, and so it did take a year,
right,
to write.
Definitely.
But the times that I saw Amber Ruffin, she did a talk with Zainab Johnson at Sketchfest. I was there yesterday, because I was there over the weekend, and someone asked, like, how do you find the time to write? And she said, you sit down and you write. All this writer's block, whatever, even if it's not good, you just sit down and you write. And I was like, that's what I did for the book.
Yeah.
Now, when I got to the chapter about dating stuff, I did get very sad.
Yeah.
And very depressed, because it made me so reflective of, like, the decisions that I made in my 20s and trying to be nice to myself for who I was when I was 23, 24, 25, 26. Because it's like, I'm still single. I still want to get married. I still want to have children. But I'm not any closer to that than I was when I was 25 years old. Now, am I successful? Yes. And am I taking care of my family? Yes. Does my mother have to work? No. But for me, it's like, how do I make sure that I don't think that I'm not successful, or that I don't think I have half a life? Because my career is very good, but my personal life is a ghost in the wind. Just a Victorian ghost, just writhing her hands, wondering where her husband's coming back. Why did my children die? You see what I'm saying? So it's like, it's just, the whole process was me just going, I didn't start it with going, I got something to say. It was, this is me as a person.
Yeah.
Which is what my stand-up is. I'm never up there going, I'm trying to make a point. It's, no, this is some wild shit that happened. Can I tell you about it?
Right.
And that's the whole book. This is some wild. Y'all, listen. Because I've always been a storyteller. Even when I was a kid, I love telling a story. So the whole book is me going, okay, girl, come here.
I love it. So it comes out, you said February
6th.
February 6th. You can pre-order it now. It's very important that she gets her pre-orders. And also then you have the book.
Yes.
Or whether you're going to do it on audio or read it.
I
on
do
your
have
thing.
an audiobook. I read the Audible. Man, an audiobook is crazy. You should never listen to your own voice for that long.
Well, I do. But yes, I agree. And recording it, they're strict about it. So it's kind of a pain in the ass.
Truly.
So
it was interesting.
Also follow her on Instagram.
Yes, I'm on Instagram.
It's her name.
Dulcé Sloan.
And
on all of the things.
Yes, and then you can just click on the link there to pre-order, depending whether you want to do audio or an actual book, so that you have it in your possession when it comes out and she becomes a bestseller.
Yes, it's on Audible. I think it drops the same day that the book.
Yes, it should.
does.
It should.
Yeah, that's what it was. The day after Christmas, it was me for 2.5 days, just reading my whole book, and I was like, I wrote this.
It's so great.
It's
so great.
crazy because you don't think you can do it. Because you should listen. when you get the book, look at the dedication. That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
Look at the
okay,
dedication
okay.
because I dedicated it to me. This shit was hard.
Yeah.
I was joking with Reg. I was like, should I dedicate this to me? This shit was hard.
Yeah.
It made me very sad. But then I was very excited. And then because when I was like, oh, I'm gonna tell him this, and I'm gonna tell him this, and I'm gonna tell him this. So it was a lot.
It's very
much a lot.
It's a hard thing to do, but what I love about having, two books, and in fact, I grabbed my book the other day and I was like, I should probably read this because it's been my first book. It's been since 2010,
Ooh.
and but it's such a great calling card, and it could always be made into some. If it doesn't, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of action from it. But even if
that's what happens with the Shell's book.
Even if it doesn't come to fruition right away, it's this calling card. It's this piece of property that could be something, or a different version, or maybe one chapter becomes a movie or whatever. And that's what's so great, that you were forced to get it down and you did it.
Tricked, and then I was forced. I was like, because it got to a point where I was just like, oh, they gave me a book deal. I should probably write a book. I got to give him a book. Because if somebody gives you a book deal,
yep. When you have a deadline, you got to do it. You have a deadline. And contractually obligated.
And nothing will make me write more.
Yeah.
Nothing will motivate me to be somewhere or to do something. Because you told me I had 3 months to do this.
Right.
But I'm doing it 3 weeks before.
Well, I loved getting to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
I enjoyed your stories and what we had in common and the stand-up. And everybody go get her book, Hello Friends. And thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Make sure my mother never has to work at Amazon ever again.